let's talk first of all about the reappointment of Njuguna Ndung'u. Did you expect it?
Yes, actually, this is something that as an industry we have been expecting. We would have been very surprised if he was not reappointed.
Right. Now, if we look at what he has done in the time that he has been in charge of Kenya's monetary policy, what would you say have been his main achievements?
I think one is his management of the monetary policy, and by this we mean, for instance, the maintaining the inflation at manageable levels, and generally price stability in the industry. I think he has done a commendable job, and it was only logical that he be reappointed to maintain the same. I think he came in at a time when there was quite a bit of a challenge, and he has managed to steer the economy pretty admirably.
Yeah. Now, would you say he is the best man for the job? Were there no other competing candidates that would have been suitable for the job? I do know that Kenya has got quite a lot of learned people.
Well, there could be a number of candidates out there, but given what he has been able to achieve over the last 4 years in his first term, I think this was the best alternative that we had. At this point in time, if we look at the track record that he has had over the 4 years, and especially where I'm coming from the banking sector, he has been able to achieve a lot. We have been able to drive quite a lot of initiatives in the partnership between the Kenya Bankers Association and the Central Bank of Kenya through his leadership.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to mark him out of 10 for all he has done since he was appointed Central Bank Governor. How many marks would you give him?
I think I would give him a fair 7.9 out of 10.
What about the other 2.1?
I think it's because of the fact that there's still a lot that we can be able to achieve, and that's why we can't say that he can get 10 out of 10 out of the 4 years that he has been at the helm of the Central Bank of Kenya.
That's my next question, because the next question I was going to ask you is, what has he not done that he should have done, do you think?
I think, looking at it from the perspective of the banking sector, there's quite a bit that we have been able to do, but I believe there is a lot more that we can be able to achieve under his leadership. And by this, we want to look at specifically two aspects of, for the banking industry, and that's what we can call the financial inclusion. That is trying to extend our banking services to the unbanked and underbanked in the Kenyan community. That's one angle. And then the other angle is trying to ensure that our banking services are affordable to the banking community. Yeah. And under those two aspects, I think there is quite a lot that can still be done. For instance, for financial inclusion, we have done a bit, including, for example, introducing what we call the agency banking model, where we are able to get our services down to the rural areas without necessarily investing in the infrastructure and the human resource required to put our services to the rural community. But through the agency banking model, we have been able to achieve that. I believe there is still a lot more that can be done in developing similar models to ensure that the bankable community in Kenya, currently we only have about 30% that is banked. We believe we can be able to achieve much higher rates and approach 60–70% with ease if he pursues policies that will promote financial inclusion. The other aspect is, of course, on the pricing for the banking services. Yeah. Part of it is because the cost of doing business in Kenya, especially for the banking industry, has been on the higher side. And in partnership with the central bank, I believe we can be able to come up as an industry with solutions that can bring the cost of doing business down and therefore achieve service delivery to the banking clientele that is much more affordable.
Yeah. Now, one of his biggest fights, if I can interject, one of his biggest fights has been trying to get a realignment, if you like, between lending and savings rates. Now, we've seen the bank profits that have come up, and banks really have reported good earnings. And one of those income streams that have shown strong growth have been areas where they invest in government securities and the like. What would you say he needs to do to get that ratio right?
I think one of the things is that I think here we are talking about the margins that banks are charging. Yeah. And the margins are comprising of a number of items. And part of it is a risk margin, which is based on the risk perception of the lender in terms of the borrower. And then the other one is basically just the cost of providing the service to the borrower. And whereas we can do something about both, I think we need to attack both of them differently. For the credit risk, there are a number of initiatives that you can put into place to reduce that credit risk perception from the lender's perspective.
Yeah.
And one of them, we already started doing something about it, which is what we're calling the Credit Information Sharing Initiative, where we are trying to reduce the information asymmetry between the lender and the borrower, where the lender will then be able to assess the borrower on the basis of the credit information available.
Sure.
With that information available, we think the margins will then start shrinking and then be able to offer the services at a much lower rate. The other one is the cost of doing business generally. And the cost of doing business, there are a number of initiatives that you can initiate, or rather we have already started initiating to bring the cost of lending down. One of them is currency centers. You know, banks are incurring a lot of money trying to bring the cash from the respective areas down to Nairobi, because that's where the central bank is. And what you have done is that you have created currency center models where we have got currency centers that are situated in in centers that are away from Nairobi, so that now central bank is able to get the cash to, or rather banks are able to get the cash to the central bank from the rural areas rather than bring the cash all the way to Nairobi, which reduces both the risk and the cost of transporting the cash.